I thought my daughter's 10th birthday would be full of laughter and cake, not police sirens and handcuffs. But when the HOA president tried to hijack our celebration in a public park, everything spiraled. What she didn't know. We had cameras.
And the law on our side.
Before we dive into this unbelievable true story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and stay until the end.
You won't believe how it ends.
The morning had started with joy. The Donovan family arrived early at Lakeview Park, securing their reserved picnic spot by the lake, a perfect location shaded by oaks, ideal for their daughter Emma's 10th birthday. With the reservation permit clearly taped to the wooden table and colorful balloons dancing in the breeze, everything was in place. Emma beamed as she helped hang the Happy 10th Birthday, Emma banner while her parents set out food and gifts. By 11:30 a.m., the party was buzzing, laughter from a dozen children playing lawn games, parents chatting over lemonade, and Emma proudly showing off her new science kit. That's when Karen Winters appeared. She was known around Oakwood Estates, infamous for her role as HOA president and her obsession with control. There she was, designer sunglasses, a tight beige pantsuit, and her ever-present clipboard pressed to her chest like a badge. Her expression carried the kind of disapproval only HOA presidents seem to perfect. "Excuse me, I need everyone's attention," she called out, cutting through the cheerful noise like a siren.
Conversation halted.
Children looked over. Parents raised their eyebrows. Emma's father, David Donovan, stepped forward, trying to keep the mood calm. "Hi, Karen."
Something wrong.
Karen didn't smile. Instead, she examined him as if he were tracking mud across her marble floor. "Actually, yes. There's been a revision to park seating assignments. This table's been reassigned. You'll need to relocate near the playground."
David blinked.
"Reassigned by who?" "We've got a city reservation. It's taped right here." Without hesitation, Karen peeled the permit off the table and studied it like a suspicious invoice. "This isn't valid under new HOA guidelines. Perhaps you missed the email." His wife, Sarah, joined them, brows furrowed.
What is happening?
"There's no confusion," Karen continued, exasperated. The HOA voted to prioritize premium view tables for senior board members during peak hours. This area is now reserved. Just then another woman, Debbie, a fellow HOA member, approached with takeout bags. Karen motioned to the now decorated table like a maitre d', presenting a reserved booth.
"We'll be holding our working lunch here."
David was stunned. "This is public property. The HOA has no authority here. We booked this with the city weeks ago, for our daughter's birthday." Karen ignored him, already pulling down balloons and placing them carelessly on the ground. "Someone should have informed you. Oakwood HOA oversees all community spaces within and around our development." She sat at the head of the table and began unpacking her lunch. Other parents watched in disbelief. Emma stood a few feet away, eyes wide, her bottom lip beginning to tremble. David pulled out his phone and showed Karen the confirmation email from the city. "This is a valid reservation. Can you please move your meeting to one of the open tables over there?" Karen waved her hand as if shooing away a waiter. "Those don't have the lake view. Your permit is unenforceable under the updated regulations." She turned to Debbie. "Try the chicken salad from Lauren, it's divine." Emma approached her father and tugged his sleeve. "Dad, is that lady taking our party away?" Karen rolled her eyes.
"Oh, please.
Let's not be dramatic. It's a picnic table. Just move and let them enjoy their little party." That's when it all shifted.
Emma burst into tears.
David clenched his jaw. Several parents had pulled out their phones, recording. His friend Mike stepped forward.
"I'm calling the police. This is insane."
Karen scoffed.
"Call whoever you like.
The HOA has jurisdiction here, not the city." But she was wrong. And the police were already on their way. About 20 minutes after Mike's call, 2 city police officers pulled into the lot. Officer Martinez, tall and even-tempered, stepped out first, followed by Officer Ramirez, her expression unreadable behind mirrored sunglasses. The sight of them caused a noticeable change in Karen's posture. She stood, smoothing her blazer and replacing her scowl with a sugary smile. "Officers," she greeted warmly, "I'm Karen Winters, president of the Oakwood Estates HOA.
Thank you for coming.
I can explain the misunderstanding. Martinez gave a short nod. We received a call about a disturbance at a reserved table. May I see identification from both parties? David handed over his driver's license and the printed reservation confirmation. Karen, suddenly hesitant, fumbled through her designer purse before producing her ID. So, Officer Martinez asked, what exactly is going on here? David kept his tone measured, though frustration pulsed beneath the surface. He explained how they'd reserved the space through the city's official system weeks ago, how everything had been set up for their daughter's birthday when Karen arrived, claimed new HOA rules gave her control, and began removing decorations without permission. Karen interrupted, her voice syrupy. The HOA recently updated its guidelines for premium community spaces. We sent out notifications regarding lakefront seating. Martinez raised a hand, cutting her off. Ma'am, this is a city park, not HOA property. The city's reservation system is the only governing authority here. He held up the printed permit. This reservation is valid and grants exclusive use of this table to the Donovan family for the listed hours. Karen's confident smile flickered. Perhaps there's been some jurisdictional confusion. The HOA board did vote to extend oversight to all community areas utilized by residents. Before she could finish, Officer Ramirez stepped forward. Ms. Winters, HOA jurisdiction ends at the boundaries of your private development. Public parks are managed by the city's Parks and Recreation Department. As Ramirez spoke, one of the other parents stepped forward, phone in hand. I have video of her pulling down their decorations and making the birthday girl cry, she said, her voice sharp. Officer Martinez gestured for the device. We'd like to see that, please.
The footage left little doubt.
It showed Karen yanking the balloons from the posts, discarding the birthday banner, and rolling her eyes as Emma stood nearby in tears. As it played, Karen's expression began to crack. I didn't see any decorations, she insisted. It looked unoccupied. It's first come, first served. That's a lie, another parent interjected. We all saw her take it down. She claimed the HOA had authority, and said the family had to leave. Ramirez turned to Karen. Ms. Winters, interfering with a lawful park reservation can be considered theft of services. Based on the video and witness statements, we're also looking at potential harassment and causing a public disturbance.
Karen S. face palette. 10 sous rajout.
I'm the HOA president. I was enforcing our guidelines. Martinez didn't flinch. Do you have any documentation from the city that gives the HOA authority over public park reservations? Karen hesitated. Not with me, but... Because none exists, Ramirez said. You have no right to remove people or repurpose public spaces. What you did today crossed a legal line. Around them, a crowd had gathered. Parents stood in stunned silence. Children clutched paper plates with uneaten cake. Karen looked around for support, but Debbie had vanished. This is all just a big misunderstanding, Karen said quickly, her voice rising in pitch. I was trying to maintain order.
Officer Martinez exhaled.
Ms. Winters, please gather your belongings. You're being placed under arrest for theft of services, harassment, and disturbing the peace. Gasps rippled through the crowd as Officer Ramirez reached for her handcuffs. Karen's eyes widened in disbelief.
You can't be serious.
Do you even know who I am? This is an abuse of power. But the power had already shifted. Officer Ramirez calmly read Karen her rights as she fastened the cuffs. Karen's protests grew louder, more desperate. This is a mistake.
ILL sur the city.
I demand to speak to your supervisor. But her voice was lost in the murmurs of disbelief and the glow of cell phone cameras capturing every moment. Children looked on wide-eyed. Some parents whispered. Others simply watched in silence as the woman who had once ruled their HOA meetings with condescension was gently guided toward the waiting patrol car. Her face, normally composed and tight with superiority, now flushed with humiliation. She glanced around, perhaps hoping someone, anyone, would come to her defense. No one did. Even Debbie, her so-called ally, had disappeared the moment police lights came into view. Once Karen was seated in the back of the car, still babbling about bylaws and board meetings, Officer Martinez returned to the Donovans. His tone softened. Mr. Donovan, Mrs. Donovan, I'm sorry for the disruption. Your reservation is completely valid.
You refri tout continue the party.
Emma stood next to her father, still holding a balloon string. Is she going to jail? She asked in a small voice. Martinez crouched down and smiled gently. That's up to the court, sweetheart. But your birthday party? It's back on. The parents clapped, some even cheered. Within minutes, the group banded together to restore the decorations. One parent had saved the torn banner, which they quickly rehung. Cupcakes were redistributed, juice boxes handed out, and music turned up just enough to erase the tension that had filled the air only minutes earlier. Emma smiled again, this time genuinely. She was surrounded by friends, back to playing games under the sun-dappled trees, as if nothing had happened. But she'd never forget this birthday. Neither would anyone else. The next morning, David received a call from the district attorney's office. Karen Winters was officially being charged with criminal trespass, harassment, and disorderly conduct. The assistant DA explained that because she had falsely represented herself as having authority she didn't possess, and had interfered with a child's city-permitted celebration, the charges were being taken seriously. She faced up to 90 days in jail and thousands in fines. 2 days later, local news picked up the story. Then national news. The viral video, captured by 3 different parents from 3 different angles, had been shared across social media with captions like HOA Karen ruins 10-year-old's party and gets arrested, and Public Park Showdown, entitlement meets consequences. Viewers couldn't believe it. Some laughed. Others were outraged. But nearly all agreed, the woman in the sunglasses had finally gone too far. Reporters camped outside Oakwood Estates. They uncovered more emails, complaints, and years of overreach. Karen had been fabricating authority, issuing HOA fines for things as ridiculous as unapproved flower colors and wind chimes that exceed acceptable volume. Residents came forward, some anonymously, some proudly. The narrative was no longer just about one birthday. It had become about a woman who had long abused the thin veil of power she clung to. And that veil was now in tatters. 2 days after the incident, the HOA board held an emergency meeting. For once, it wasn't closed to residents. A statement was drafted and released to the community and the press. The actions of Karen Winters at Lakeview Park were unauthorized and not representative of the Oakwood Estates Homeowners Association. We categorically deny any extension of HOA jurisdiction to public parks. The vote to remove Karen as president was unanimous. Neighbors who had once feared her now openly discussed their experiences, petty citations, unwarranted threats, and false claims of power. One resident recalled being fined for unsightly Halloween decorations in September. Another said Karen once threatened to escalate to legal over a trampoline. The community, once policed with a clipboard and a glare, was finally speaking out. By the end of the week, Karen had become a symbol, a cautionary tale about power, pride, and overreach. The video was dissected on morning talk shows. Legal experts weighed in. Memes appeared online. Not the view Karen showed her glaring over a cake while a child cried in the background. But behind the humor was something sobering, the image of a grown woman using imagined authority to humiliate a child. And it wasn't over yet. When Karen appeared in court 2 weeks later, the judge made it clear this was not just a minor incident. You misrepresented your authority, he stated flatly. You disrupted a permitted city event involving children. You acted with entitlement and aggression in a public space. Karen, dressed in muted gray instead of her usual designer wear, stood pale and speechless. The sentence, 60 days in jail suspended, 1 year of probation, a $1,000 fine, and 200 hours of community service. But there was a twist that even she didn't expect. All community service is to be completed in city parks, the judge said, not hiding his irony. You will work under supervision to support the spaces you once attempted to control.
Karen's composure chattered.
In front of the court, she broke down sobbing, her voice shaking. I didn't mean to cause harm. I just wanted to maintain standards. The judge was unmoved. In your pursuit of control, he said, you hurt a child, disrespected a family, and misled an entire community. That is not leadership. That is ego. Outside the courtroom, reporters waited. David and Sarah Donovan, who had chosen to remain silent until the trial concluded, made a short statement. This was never about revenge. It was about accountability. No one should be allowed to ruin a child's joy to feel powerful. Emma didn't go to the court hearing. She stayed home with her grandparents, painting pictures of lakes and balloons. Her parents told her, simply, that the mean lady had to make things right now. She nodded and asked if she could have her party at the same park next year. They said yes. For weeks after Karen's sentencing, Oakwood Estates felt different. Quieter. Lighter. The tension that had once simmered under every lawn inspection, every noise complaint, began to fade. Without Karen's constant oversight, residents started talking to one another, not about bylaws, but about barbecues, weekend plans, and finally repainting their doors the colors they actually liked. The HOA board, now under interim leadership, held a town hall to restore trust. Rules were revised, boundaries clarified. They vowed never again to let one person twist procedure into personal power. As for Karen, her mandated community service began 2 Saturdays after sentencing. She showed up at Lakeview Park wearing a neon vest and rubber gloves, assigned to pick up litter around the walking trails. She kept her head down, avoiding eye contact with joggers and dog walkers, many of whom recognized her but said nothing. Word spread quickly that she had been seen scrubbing graffiti from the public restrooms and planting marigolds along the park fence. Teenagers who had once been yelled at by her now whispered and recorded clips from a distance, muttering, "Is that really her?" Yes. That was really her. No clipboard. No sunglasses.
No authority.
Just a woman, hands in the dirt, paying the price. Meanwhile, Emma's story continued to be shared. Her party, disrupted and reclaimed, had become something bigger. Her parents posted a short video thanking the community for their support, and it was met with thousands of comments. Parents from all over the country shared similar stories of entitled authority figures and the quiet power of standing firm. Local news did a follow-up weeks later. Emma, wearing a bright pink shirt and grinning from ear to ear, gave a quick interview. "It was a weird birthday," she admitted. "But it turned out okay. My friends were awesome. And the police were really nice." Her mother smiled beside her, adding, "Sometimes, standing up to someone is the best birthday gift you can give your child." The final irony came in the spring. The Parks and Recreation Department named a new initiative after the incident: Respect the Space. Flyers appeared at every city park reminding visitors of public rules and boundaries. And on the first warm weekend of April, the Donovans returned to Lakeview Park. They set up early again, this time at the same table. The banner was different, bright blue and yellow with bold letters, "Emma's 11th, thank you community." There were more kids this year, more laughter, more music.
No argument. No interruption.
Just a family, a table by the lake, and the kind of peace that comes only after a storm passes, and leaves the air cleaner than before. What would you have done if this happened at your child's birthday?
Drop your thoughts below.
And if you enjoy true stories with justice and drama, check out our next video.